Hello and welcome to YHTV's Flowing into Awareness with visionary and master intuitive Anatara. I'm Christina Suzuma, your host for this program. This is episode 32. Give yourself a chance. Let your deepest stressors surface and swim away. I can't wait for this one. Hello, Anatara. Welcome.
Hi, Christina.
I'm swimming. I'm
I know. I'm trying not to jump into your pool with you on top of you. Because your voice was so liquid. It was lovely the way you were reading that, and I'm thinking, oh yes, that's exactly the feeling that I was after. So, metaphor, analogy is just, it's such a great tool for us to depict and explain what we're after. And, when I was thinking about, letting our stressors surface, there are so many things that stress us. And I'm going to read a little bit that I wrote a few minutes ago about this, but in a minute. But those stressors are buried. They're buried in us physically. They're buried mentally. They're buried in our feelings and our emotions. And if we just sort of lift off some of those caps, things that cap the things that stress us in, and we let them rise, we let them bubble up, we let them surface, then they themselves will want to swim away. We don't have to do much to get rid of them once you get to that point. They rise, they surface, and then just the water carries them away. So your voice was doing that for me.
Oh, thank you. I was just thinking to myself, oh, the stressors, all of me will just float away.
Exactly. We'll just let everything become part of the drift. and with this show being called Flowing into Awareness, we are flowing. Flowing is what we are meant to do, and how we are meant to proceed with our lives. So so let's do a little bit more of that. So I'm just going to read what I wrote about this particular episode, so that I don't forget what it is that I want to emphasize. We can be comfortable with many things that keep us pinned down emotionally, mentally, and physically. And what I mean by comfortable is that we're so accustomed to it that it becomes our familiar comfort zone. We're comfortable because it's what we know. We're comfortable with those things that keep us stuck and pinned down, and the things that are hidden below the surface, just because it's the way we've always been. Or we picked it up and adopted it, and we've never seen how to let it drift away. These things, they tap at our hearts, longing to be realized and loved into oblivion. So these little things that nudge us, that tap and say, see me, I'm really here. I want you to notice me so that you can love me and release me. We know what they are. We know that we know lots of things about them. We have a dialogue with these stressors. But we don't often give them and give ourselves the opportunity to be free of one another. So there's no need to hide from what seems like it might be painful. We imagine that it's going to be painful to let some of those things rise up. We imagine that it's going to be painful to let some of those things surface. But perhaps it's not going to be, if we get rid of the idea that it is going to be painful. So look into the places that you usually hesitate to go into, and love yourself through to the other side. So back to the title, give yourself a chance. Let your deepest stressors surface and swim away. And often I will say to a client, what do you think you're hiding from? And I don't want them to tell me what they think they're hiding from. I want them to give me the first thing that pops into their mind when I ask that question. In our last episode, we talked about looking at what we're hungry for, what we're looking for, what we desire. This is similar. What is it that we know we're hiding from? What is it that we have pressed down and stepped on and sometimes stomped on to keep ourselves from noticing? All right. So a stressor can be many things. It can be the idea that we need to perform our job in a certain way. It can be the idea that we're supposed to be some kind of person, that we're supposed to love everybody, that we're supposed to be good at math and English in school, that we're supposed to be able to manage all of the things that we've taken on and to do it smoothly and with great love for ourselves and for everyone else. And whenever we have an idea or a concept that we are trying to manage or maintain, we are creating stress for ourselves. We're creating something that's very difficult to swim through. We're making sludge out of something that doesn't have to be that complex. So, what are some of those things for each of us? You know what they are. When I ask, what is the biggest stressor in your life? What do you feel the most stressed about? Something's going to pop up. And when that thing pops up, we can ask again, what do you know about that? What have you felt or do you feel about that particular thing, event, object, person, idea? What's going on in your mind about that? And when you get some of that detail, then you can start to let your heart work with it. You can say to yourself, well, I can see that that's creating a problem for me. I can see that I'm getting bogged down in that somehow. And or I'm seeing that I'm afraid to move away from that because maybe I'll find something worse. So rather than thinking maybe I'll find relief or that something may improve, we're usually thinking to ourselves, I better not let that one out because it's likely to bring up some other things that I don't want to think about or look at or just even have to deal with. We have this idea that it's going to be hard to deal with it, hard to work with it, hard to let it rise to the surface and swim away on that current of water. But what if that's not the case? What if that is not really true? So, can we look at some of the things that give us fear and make us hesitate and say, I'm going to accept that you exist and I'm going to give you love just because I can. I am going to show myself that I can give love to something that I have heretofore wanted to ignore or hide or sit on or step on or bury. And the love that I'm talking about is really the love we have for our own growth and our own movement and our own development. Do we love ourselves enough? Can we love ourselves enough to disseminate some of the beliefs that we have about why we're not perfect or why we're not happy or why we don't have everything that we want? It's the way that all of these things work together. It's not usually as hard to unravel or to understand as we think it is. And sometimes it's just a matter of saying to ourselves, I give you permission to look at this. I'm telling you, you will be safe if you look at this. I'm telling you, self, that it's all right to open to whatever this is, and that I am strong enough to see what comes next and to work with it as it comes out. It's sort of a matter of deciding that we are capable of being ourselves. We are capable of working with and managing all of the detail and all of the different levels of being human, which are also being our hearts, being our emotions, being our spirit selves. That we are here with everything built right in to take ourselves through all of these steps to an opening where there's flow around us, where we can take a deep breath and say, okay, now I know what to choose. Now I know what to do next. Have you felt this, Christina?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's quite amazing, even, as we work on ourselves as individuals and really trusting that we do have the tools and we do have the skills to do so. These stressors, as you would call them, either we choose to negate them and put them aside so they begin to fester and fester, or we just choose to know that they're there, but not do anything about them. And I believe, I know for myself, it has been through this, through and through, where I can very easily build drama around a situation by just looking at it. And you build the drama, and it's almost like this soap opera that starts to enact itself. It's like, wow. And you look at it and it gets worse. It gets harder. It gets harder. Instead of looking at it and going, you know what? You are this big, and let's take care of you now. Let's let it surface. Let's let it float away. If you can't swim, that's okay. The current will still take you away, right? So this is a really a wonderful, and I think a very timely topic, Anatar, that you've brought up, because we are now living in such a fast-paced world. And the terminology these days is not about, oh, take some time for yourself. It's now the terminology is unplug yourself.
Good point.
Unplug, from your phone, from your iPad, from your computers, completely unplug. And for those of you who don't know what that means, is that we're always connected to something, whether it be television or radio or something, or the phones. People can find us anywhere. I won't say everybody, but a majority of the people these days, do have what may be called a luxury, but it can also be called a detriment, that we don't take that time any longer. We don't take that time for ourselves to realize, wow, this is really stressing me out. This is really bothering me. Or here's an instance that is really frightening because it involves someone else and what they think, what they feel about me.
Every single point that you've made is full of life, and it's full of exactly the direction that I'm flowing into with all of you. And you describe really well how something that we label as being a stress or a stressor can become magnified. It becomes magnified in our perception because we've been hiding from it, or hiding it, or ignoring it, pretending it's not there. All of those things are ways that the stress becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you speak about this age that we live in, where we've got so much connectivity with everyone, the connected part of it is wonderful, and it does offer many opportunities for us to be in deep reciprocal the deep reciprocal flow with each other. And when that exceeds a certain point, it is completely a stress. It creates a place where we are in a lack of being able to know and visualize the essence of who we are. So that balance is more important now, really, than it's ever been. And it's funny because what I'd like to do with the continuation of this series together, our Flowing into Awareness series, is to talk about what the best tools for 2014 are. Tools to eliminate our connection or our interrelation with the things that we feel stress us. Tools to create the space and the time to find that essence self again. Tools to manage working with time, working with stress, working with self, working with earth, working with each other. So I think the overall, part of this message today really is, we all feel that we have stress, and we all feel that we are in a struggle in some ways. And if we can change the idea of the struggle from being one that's imposed on us into different elements of our lives that we choose to engage with, then the way it stresses us can shift. And the way we see the way we have been stressed can shift into an understanding that I myself can manage this. I myself can be in control of this. I can find the time required to nourish myself and feed the hungers within me, the hungers to be true, the hungers to be open, the hungers to be my heart self. And that we don't have to be, I don't know, controlled by those things that we have been burying any longer. We can let them rise to the surface. We can become part of the flow in the water with them, and we can all shift and change together. Mm.
Beautiful. Oh, that's hard. I'm floating away now.
Enjoy it.
Oh yes, absolutely. And you know, you're absolutely right. Like so many of your episodes, it's another piece. It's another piece that we can grow from. It's another piece to add on. And that's the beauty of this series with you is it's endless. It really is. It's like water. It is endless. Hopefully it will be endless. You know, I had to stop myself for a moment there with all this global warming and everything, you know.
Well, I just want to interject, there's a difference between endless and infinite.
And yes.
And if we allow whatever is coming to be infinite, then it doesn't have any finite ends or beginnings to it.
Love
but
it.
we are always part of the loop.
Okay, let's be a part of the infinite.
That's right.
Love it. Love it. You know, that these are like little points, and the next one and the next one, it all connects, and it's all interactive, and it's really about us. It's about how we see ourselves, how we can just grow and continue to grow together as one.
Exactly. Exactly. I love you for saying it that way.
Thank you, Anatara, as we love you. Oh, these moments are just brilliant and well cherished. Thank you so much. And of course, we would like to thank Segovia Smith and the Yoga Hub team for making this all possible, and to each and every one of you for joining us in this new platform of education and information. We're grateful for your continuous support and look forward to hearing your feedback on how we can serve you better. We invite you to join us live on Tuesdays for Magical Medical Tour at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays for Trinity of Life at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, followed every other week with Flowing into Awareness with Anatara. You can also connect with Anatara by following her on Twitter at Anatara, and of course through her own website, anatara.ca. Anatara.ca. Please leave us your comments or questions, any questions that you might have for Anatara or the show. Right there in your screen, if you scroll down, there's a comment box, and be sure to click submit. Or if you're not in front of your screen, just dial into 818-LETS-TALK. 818-LETS-TALK. Be sure to leave your name and contact information so we can get right back to you. And we really, really encourage you to do so. We would love to connect with you on the topics that you would like to hear about, the people that you would like to speak to or see. So at any time for any of our shows, please do that. And of course, we look forward to bringing you a whole new slate of shows for 2014. So be on the lookout for that. And until next time, until we meet again, namaste.